I'm going to talk briefly about the characteristic of the Italian economy. I will give some basic data regarding our market. I will give you the latest information about the ease of doing business in Italy. We'll see that there are some world statistics that can provide an idea to foreign investors about the ease or difficulties connected to doing business in a country, and we'll see where Italy is placed and ranked in the world. We're going to talk about some strengths and opportunities for foreign investments in Italy. So there are some areas. So Ms. Nu talked about some areas in South Sudan. We see that also Italy currently provides good opportunities for investment in some specific areas. And some introductory ideas about what is already going on between Italy and Africa about doing business today. So, Italian economy in a nutshell. So, Italy is currently, according to the latest statistic of World Bank, International Monetary Fund, the 9th economy of the world as to gross domestic product. If you want to see the top 10 of the world now, this is the list. So you have United States, the first place, then China, Japan, Germany, United Kingdom, France, India, Brazil, and then Italy. I mean, we were at the 8th place till recently, but Brazil has overcome now, and there's a participant from Brazil. But we are still among the top 10 of the world, as you can see. It's basically an export-led economy. So it's an economy based on exporting goods abroad, and we'll see what these goods are. And it's not only the 9th economy of the world, but it's also the 9th largest exporter of the world. And I mean, the main countries where Italy exports its goods are Germany and France, so two other European companies, countries, sorry. But obviously, we'll see that also in Africa is still active, but there is still a lot to do. So this is the message. Italy is quite short about energy and raw materials, so it's an area of dependence on other countries, on other sources of these important raw materials. And the characteristic of the Italian market and the Italian economy is the fact that the size of our company on average is quite small. So there are only few large groups, but we'll see that most of our companies are so-called SMEs, or small and medium enterprises. Okay. About the internal market, I wanted to give you some statistics about the composition of the activities that are performed in Italy. You see that the Italian company is mostly a services-based economy. So 73% of the economic activities and of the gross domestic product is based on delivering and selling services, whereas the industry and industrial activities account for the 25%. And within this number, we'll see that the leading industrial activities are processing and production of manufactured product. What kind of products? The major Italian industry are mechanical industries, so the car industry, motorcycles, a lot of activities regarding machine tools. We are a very good provider of machine tools for many countries of the world, and household appliances. We have a quite strong defense industry. So we have companies producing helicopters, defense systems, light weapons, armored vehicles. Chemicals, so oil, rubber, pharmaceutical, and electronics. Obviously, you all know also the importance of the so-called Made in Italy. And the Made in Italy brand, according to a study by KPMG, is the 4th brand in the world. It's recognized and identified and appreciated. And within the Made in Italy brand, we have many products regarding the textile sector, production of clothing and footwear, agri-foodstuffs and design that give obviously a very good contribution to the national economy and are very well known and appreciated throughout the world. Agriculture is the smallest size, the smallest percentage of our gross domestic product, currently at only 2%. Italy has been quite heavily affected by the crisis in the Eurozone. So this is a graph that gives you an idea what happened in the European countries starting from 2007, more or less. So this blue line is the average of the trend of the European economy. So you can see what happened in these years. The dramatic line that seems to sink is the Spanish economy. Italy is here, is this green line that, as you can see, had a very severe recession, especially with this peak between 2009-2010 with the partial recovery. So this line arrives to 2012. Now the line is quite stabilized, but as we will see, there are good signs of recovery. Not full recovery, but the situation seems to be improving. As you can see, I mean, the Eurozone was negatively impacted as a whole, but obviously there are some countries that are above the European average in terms of strength and recovery potential, like Germany. So this is just to reinforce what we were saying about the strength of Italy in the export system. So as we anticipated, we are at the 9th place. We have above only China, United States, Germany, France, Japan, United Kingdom, Korea, and the Netherlands. But it's still a country in the market and economy that is quite strong in exporting. A small focus on our structure in terms of entrepreneurial activity. As we said, 98% of the Italian companies are small and medium enterprises, 99.8%, and they generate approximately the 60% of the added value of the economy. Their characteristics are their flexibility, specialization, and capability of being innovative. Although Italy is not investing as much as other countries in research and development, the strange things may be related to the creativity of the national people is their capability still to be innovating and developing new solutions to business problems and to identify new solutions for their customers' needs. As anticipated, I also wanted to give you some hints about the ease of doing business in Italy. So how difficult or how easy is for a foreign entrepreneur to start a business in Italy, but also for an Italian entrepreneur to start a business in Italy. So these numbers and the ranking that I'm going to show you derives from a research that each year the World Bank, an agency of the World Bank called Doing Business, creates every day by evaluating a series of factors and drivers that determines the ease of doing business in a country. For example, the access to finance, ease of getting electricity, of paying the tax rates, political instability, and so on. So this agency surveys and analyzes 189 countries each year and creates this kind of rank by getting the responsive of representatives of entrepreneurs and also institutional representatives. So the drivers that this analysis investigates relate to the different stages of doing business. So from the startup stage, so how long does it take to start a business and how costly is starting a business in a country, so procedures, time and cost. The stage of the expansion, so how long does it take and how much does it take to register a property, for getting credit, for protecting investors, and procedures and times to enforce contracts in a country. As to the operation stage, the factors that are investigated in order to decide which country is better for doing business, we analyzed dealing with construction permits, paying taxes, trading across borders, once again getting electricity, employing workers. And as to the stage of insolvency, how difficult, how long does it take to resolve a possible state of insolvency? Now, can you guess what is the first country of the world in terms of ease of doing business? Any idea? First country, so the country where it's absolutely easy and simple to do business. Just guess. Is it European, not European? What do you think?
South American.
Other ideas? No, there are some South American countries that are performing very well. I will show you, don't worry. So the first one is Singapore. So in this international ranking, the country where it's very easy for a new business to start an activity is Singapore, followed by New Zealand. We have Hong Kong, Denmark, Korea, Norway, United States, United Kingdom, Finland, and Austria. Where is Italy in this international ranking?
Very low.
Very low. Okay, I will show you that. I was surprised too by some figures and some numbers by preparing this presentation. There are some aspects of Italy that are more positive than we can expect. So in this ranking, we are not at the top, as you can see, but we are not also at the latest places. We are number 56. Not too bad, maybe we can see. I will show you also a general picture of what happens in the world. The interesting thing is that in 2007, Italy was at the 50th place. Then we had problems connected with the crisis affecting Europe. So when this line goes up, it means that the ease of doing business in Italy was becoming worse. Okay. So we had a negative peak in 2012, where we reached the 87th place in the world. So complexity, crisis, difficult access to credit, most of all, that reduced the possibility of doing business. Now it's going better. We are, as anticipated, 56 now. We'll see what happens in the upcoming years. The ease of doing business is improving a little bit thanks to some reforms that are being taken in Italy in the areas of how to start a business, of paying taxes and enforcing contracts. I want to highlight some points of weakness and of strength that Italy presents for investors and for businessmen. As you can see, we are quite good in protecting minority investors. So when you create a new company, you know, sometimes there are the main investors and minority investors that only own a short portion of the stocks. In Italy, we are able to protect them well. We have improved a lot the ease for new companies to start a business. We are 46 in the world. There are still things to do in the area of taxation. There is still quite high and quite complex as a whole to manage for an entrepreneur. Difficulties in enforcing contracts and also in getting electricity. Some positive aspects that I want to highlight about Italy, that for example, registering a property, a new property in Italy is faster than what happens in Japan, or also faster than what you can find in Switzerland, which is not good. Starting a business in Italy today is quite fast, but still quite expensive. So this ranking gives you an idea of the days it takes to start and register a new business in Italy. So you can see some specific cities that have been investigated, because there can be some variations as for the city, but on average we can say that you can start a new business in 6 days in Italy. The average of the OECD countries is 12 days. The European average is 14 days. So we are not bad at all in terms of the speed. It's a little bit quite expensive still to start a business in Italy. So it's based on the cost, so percentage of income per capita. But it's a number that gives you how much compared to your income you have to spend to start a new business in Italy. And you see that we are quite higher than the European average. We are strong in exporting our goods abroad, but there's still something to do in terms of speed of bringing the Italian goods abroad. So this graph shows that on average, if we consider the main Italian ports, it takes 19 days to bring our goods abroad by using our ports, whereas the European average is 11 days. However, if we consider the position of Italy in the world, as you can see, we are placed among the best countries in the world. So the color shows that the yellow countries are the top positions. In the blue areas, it's more complex still to do business and to start a new business. Let me show you some specific strengths and investment opportunities in Italy. So there are many things about Italy that are still overlooked and underestimated, I would say specifically by Italian entrepreneurs, or that do not have so much confidence in themselves. So Italy is the 4th largest economy in Europe, and as anticipated is the 9th economy in the world itself. It's the 4th largest manufacturing economy worldwide on a value added per capita, and it's the 2nd in Europe in terms of manufacturing economy. Pay attention, it's the first country. Welcome. It's the first country in Europe as to the number of passengers and the first Mediterranean hub for cruising passengers. So that the touristic dimension of Italy is one of the most important of the world. And it's the 2nd country in Europe as to transported goods. We are 4th in Europe as to the railway networks, and we have a particularly technological record in the high-speed train technology. And I think not so many people know that Italy has among the highest net wealth per household, per family. So $600,000 this is the data of 2012. Other elements of strength. So if you consider the about 5,000 products that are sold in the world, in our times, Italy's export ranked number 1, number 2, and number 3 for 9460 products, 946 products. So we have some products that are absolutely at levels of excellence in world customers' appreciation. So despite the crisis, the capability of Italy to export confirmed and proved to be very strong, and even increased during the years of the peak of the crisis. So in 2012, Italy even increased its ability to export. About the investment opportunities, I'm going to say something more, but the small Italian companies that are interested in growing and developing their business abroad are good investment opportunities and a good opportunity of creating joint ventures between African and obviously Italian entrepreneurs. Usually they have an aging management. They are family businesses that need to grow and to keep their profitability in the new scenario of globalization. So they need to be, I would say, fertilized by joining and creating new networks with foreign entrepreneurs. Other elements of interest of the Italian company is that we have 131 industrial districts that host about 280,000 small and medium enterprises, and 31 scientific and technology parks where the innovation capability is in some way nurtured and constantly grows. And apart from a big public debt, the Italian economy is still a very, I would say, strong and solid economy. Why? Because we don't have bubbles in the housing market. So those bubbles that, for example, have created many problems both to the United States and Spain, if we look at Europe. We have low household debt, and the banking system, compared to other countries, also in the Eurozone, is quite strong. A couple of words about the so-called MSMEs, so the micro and small multinational companies. So we said that the 99% of the Italian companies are very small companies, but they are not simply small and medium enterprises. They are micro and small multinational companies. So although they are small, they are very committed to go international and to grow internationally. And they are very interested in developing networks and synergies with foreign investors. This is the message. How do they do that? Currently, they do that most of all through direct investment. So it means that they start and they build their factories or their stores abroad, and still they are not good at creating joint ventures with local entrepreneurs and companies. But this is an area of opportunities, because it's absolutely more difficult to start a direct investment. It's more risky. But they do not have the networks to create joint ventures. So opportunities like that can potentially have this idea of facilitating ideas, contribution, meeting, and networking, so that it's easier for an Italian entrepreneur to create a joint venture with a local company. As I said, Italian companies are innovated, but they still do not or are not supported by strong research and development investment. There's still a lot to do that the Italian state, the Italian government can do to help in this area. But nevertheless, the strange thing is that Italian companies still have a lot of patents, so they're still able to innovate and create new solutions that are patent protected. Italy is second in Europe as to the high-tech, knowledge-intensive sector. So we have about 5 million of entrepreneurs. So there's still a strong entrepreneurial culture with some brands that more or less we all know, from Ferrari and Fiat and the Made in Italy. About the labor market, so the Italian labor market is quite complex. I mean, currently we have about 12% of unemployment, but some recent reforms maybe can give a new boost to the ease of dealing with employment, with hiring new workers. And it's still a country that has a good level of knowledge. We have a good pool of qualified human resources, with many people that still graduate per year, about 300,000. And still, it's one of the most competitive European countries in terms of salary per hour. So the European salaries on average are obviously higher than the African salaries, but compared to other European countries, it's still an affordable salary. I mentioned the scientific parks, so parks where new technologies are developed and created. So this is a map that shows where they are placed. It's quite a diffuse way of investing in technology. And about the assets that we have, maybe you already know that Italy has the widest cultural heritage worldwide, with over 3,500 museums and 47 UNESCO sites. The strange thing about Italy, and another area of possible investment and opportunities, is that despite this primacy in the world, we are not able yet to have the return on the investment that we could have from our cultural heritage. Because, for example, the United States, that have half of the UNESCO sites, so the sites that are particularly well known and appreciated in the world, so United States have a commercial return of 16 times more than the Italian one. So they are more able to make money from the UNESCO sites compared to what Italians are able to do. And also European countries like France and the United Kingdom are much more able to make business with their cultural heritage. So between 4 and 7 times more than Italia. So also the cultural asset is a source of possible business opportunities. So there's the possibility to extract value from these intangible cultural assets, because public authorities in Italy now have the opportunity to, in some way, license their historical areas. They can create trademarks, they can brand and license cultural sites and make business with them. There's the possibility to capitalize cultural assets, once again, by licensing the brand of some historical sites. Let's go to some additional investment opportunities. Okay, something that maybe you can be particularly interested in. So in the sector of infrastructures, we are involved in 6 of the 30 most important traffic axes in Europe. So I'm talking about highways, high-speed train technologies, intermodal transportation. So these are projects where the Italian government is investing a lot, projects that have been approved. So in the upcoming years, a lot of money will be spent in this area of infrastructures. Other area of opportunities are obviously public and private ventures. So the Italian economy is characterized still by the fact that municipalities own some companies that manage local services like transportation, for example. Okay, now the law is enforcing public organizations to reduce their presence in the economic management of these activities. So I'm referring to energy, water, gas distribution system, waste disposal. So all areas where the public administration will limit its presence and it's interested in welcoming private investors. Good areas of business. Services like facility management, wholesale, cash and carry, retail distribution, social and personal services, research and development. These are areas where the market is growing, where there is more demand, and so more suppliers are needed. Financial institutions. So Italian banks, Italian financial institutions are open to foreign investors and sovereign funds to invest. So this is another area of consideration for foreign investments. Healthcare and education. Similarly to what I said about public services, local services, in this area, so healthcare and education, the general trend of the Italian state is to retire, to go back, and to leave these areas of the economy to the private management and private investments. It's a huge market that Italy is deciding to transfer to private activities. So once again, foreign investors can be absolutely very interested to create ventures in this area. Tourism and leisure, as I said, Italy has an incredible historical and cultural heritage, but there's a lot to do to exploit the potential associated to this cultural heritage. So also in this area, joint ventures between Italian and so African entrepreneurs can be an area of opportunities. Other areas of growth are the environmental sector, so the agro-energy, water treatment, recycling. So everything that is related to the green economy is growing also in our country. So opportunities of partnership between Italian companies and African companies can be absolutely interesting. And we expect a new season of privatizations. So it means that the Italian state still owns a quite relevant percentage of stocks, of shares in relevant companies, but is progressively withdrawing. So also big national groups can be an area of investment. Few words to conclude about what's already happening between Africa and Italy in business. So Italy is already strong in some countries of Northern Africa. So these graphs show with the different colors what's happening in the competition between Italy, Italian companies, and other companies in Africa, in this case in Northern African countries, about their presence and about their business activity there. So we are among the strongest countries in Northern Africa, but you see the importance of France and China. So there's still a good presence, but the yellow line indicates that data, the most updated data of 2012. So we are losing ground a little bit in Africa, so there's something to improve. This is about Northern Africa. This is a graph regarding other African countries. So maybe in the Southern Africa. You see that the growth of China also in South Africa. Italy is not as strong as it is in Northern Africa, so maybe there's another area of possible common work together. But I also wanted to highlight the fact that in Italy we have quite a few of African entrepreneurs. So we have 126,000 companies that are owned by African entrepreneurs, which is a very interesting data that we discovered by researching this field. So it's a way to say that doing business between Italy and Africa should be seen as a two-way road. And so the idea is that doing business is not obviously an attack or an aggression by one country towards another, but should always be seen as a mutual exchange that can bring value and opportunities to all the parties involved. So our goal and our hope is that Italy and Africa can keep growing together and keep developing new opportunities and new ideas for networking, for improving our societies, our economy, and our life. Okay, thanks a lot for your attention.